switch position. Clean version.
Monkeyboy's channel is intersubjectively and stands independently the greatest channel of all time.
You have good evidence that God exists?
No, I was gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Hang on, I kind of forgot. So you're saying there's evidence you exist, but none of it is like good evidence?
Yeah.
What do you believe in?
I mean, that's like pretty vague, like what I believe in like what area.
Like,
I mean, I believe I'm a human.
Are you religious at all?
No, I'm an atheist.
So do you believe in a higher power or no?
I'm not really sure what expressions like that even mean.
Never mind. I don't really know how to get my point across.
All right, well, do you have other questions or?
I just wanted to know, like, how do you think the world started?
By the world, you mean like the universe?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even think the universe started. I'm just not really clear why I think that.
So what do you think happened?
What do you mean? I don't think that the universe started.
So then what do you think happened?
What do you? You're not asking. Look, what the universe starting or not starting isn't a question about like an event.
Like, I'm asking, how do you think the universe was created, basically?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually. I was not interpreting your question to be saying that, but I don't think the universe was created.
Okay, I don't know how to ask this, but can you just tell me your thoughts on it? That's kind of where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah. So I take it to be true by definition that the universe can't be created. Frankly, people who say that the universe could be created, I have no clue what that means. But even if I suppose that there's some like weak intuition for a type of concept of the such, I don't see reason to think that. So if I'm very charitable and I just presume it's meaningful to say that the universe is created, I have no reason to believe that. So I don't believe that.
Okay, so you're just arguing like evidence of God, I'm assuming.
Yep.
All right. Well, I agree. Like, I don't think there's good. In my opinion, I do think there's good evidence, but not something concrete that you could touch kind of evidence.
What's the good evidence you have in mind?
You will probably disagree with me. That's fine. But I think that people that believe in God, whatever God that may be, and they tell you stories like, oh, I prayed and then it happened. I think that's pretty good evidence to me.
So they pray, an event happens that's in line with their prayer, and that's evidence that a God created the universe.
No, that a God exists.
Yeah. I don't see how that would be a good evidence at all. Like, look, just one very obvious thing is you could just. What I never understood is you could just construct non-theistic explanations that are just better suited for explaining the same thing, and that's more evidence for that, or equal if not better evidence. And the hypothesis is just better.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, look, like if I had the hypothesis that aliens wanted to deceive humanity of Christianity, so I prayed to God and I get my prayer. Let's just say whatever I prayed for happens, right? On the hypothesis, there's aliens that are doing that. The hypothesis there's aliens that are doing that. That type of hypothesis is simpler, right? It doesn't commit you to what philosophers would say is robust ontology, right? It's not saying there's supernatural things, right? Aliens are natural entities. So for that reason, it's theoretically simpler, which just means the theory is stronger, right? And given that alien hypothesis is stronger, and they would both expect the prayer to happen, right? They have equal evidence, but the probabilities of the two explanations before considering the evidence, the aliens is better. So the aliens one is just, you could just do that for anything, right? And it just seems like you can't, like, at least on an explanatory front, doesn't seem like you can ever get good evidence for any religion that way. You could just, I don't see why you couldn't just better accommodate all the same facts with aliens, like literally anything.
Well, I think that I know what you're saying, and I think you're right. Like, one person could say this, but then another person could give you another idea of what it actually, or what it just could have been. Like, there's always going to be another.
Well, I'm not saying that. No, but that's something too trivial. I'm not just saying there's always an alternative explanation to consider.
There always can
I'm
be.
explaining how. But that's a trivial point. That's like, it's not really saying anything interesting, right? Obviously, we can think of infinite explanations for anything. My point isn't just that we can think of another explanation. I'm saying that the aliens hypothesis I just constructed is better than the Christian hypothesis, and I explained why. And I'm saying I don't see why you can't just, for anything you can explain with Christianity, you could just change for aliens, and the aliens explanation is better. So then you have nothing on offer as a Christian, or a Muslim, or any given religion.
Yeah. I'm a little slow, so when you use big words, I don't know what any of that means.
Okay. there's anything unclear, you can always ask to clarify. I'm saying that. Look, I'm saying.
I'm also
Sorry?
not religious. Like I read the Bible and I believe in God, but I wouldn't consider myself a Christian. And I always do look at other point of views out of curiosity.
That's good.
What big words
But
did he?
I think you're talking about parsimony. When I said, well, I didn't even say parsimony. I just said that it's theoretically simple, but I explained really how and what that means, right? I said that it's not committing you to robust ontology, and what that means is that's not committing you to new types of existing things where we don't share, like, it's disputable that there's supernatural things. It's not disputable there's natural things. So there's like a priority for a natural explanation.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I also don't believe in aliens. But
I don't either.
but you think it would be better evidence because it's something out there, like I don't know, people can't really touch them or see them though.
The evidence might be equal for both, but I'm saying that the hypothesis we would prefer would be aliens, just for simplicity reason.
Oh.
Yeah.
How is it more simple?
Yeah, because it's not committing you to supernatural existences.
Oh. Interesting. Okay. I don't really know what to say.
But also we have like background information that almost everything we observe has a natural explanation, right? Any natural phenomena has a natural explanation. So when we have facts like prayer, right? When the natural phenomena of the contents of your prayer are coming to fruition, when we have that fact, right? We already know that almost every time in my life that when a natural phenomena happens, that's explained naturalistically. So that just means that not only is the aliens more simple, but it's actually just more probable.
I have to disagree with you. I don't, but it's probably just my worldview on everything,
But what exactly are you disagreeing with?
Because I don't,
Like which part?
the alien part, I don't think it's more simple and I don't think they exist, you know what I mean?
Well, I explained how it's ontologically simpler because it's not committing you to supernatural
That was a big word.
existences.
What's ontology or whatever you just
Yeah,
said.
ontologically simple means it's not introducing new existences, right? It's not talking about supernatural existences. It's just talking about natural existences.
But how is that a natural existence?
How's it? Because it's constrained by the physical world, right? Aliens are physical creatures. Supernatural beings are non-physical beings, right? He supervenes over the physical, right? He has control or dominion over the physical facts. He himself is non-physical. He's like a spirit or whatever, right? He's like magical, supernatural, spiritual, right? All that stuff is not properties had of the aliens. The aliens are things that are located in space and time. They can be described physically. They're occupied in some geography and space, right? They're strictly biological organisms, right? That just makes the hypothesis simpler.
It just doesn't sound right to me.
Yeah, maybe you have an intuition against the hypothesis, but it is true. It's simpler, right? It's not committing you to new types of existences. Right? We already have background information. There's natural things. Whether there's supernatural things is something controversial.
I feel like God has always existed, and that he is not a new thing. You know what I mean?
No, I'm saying that look, we share background information. I mean, you and I, that there's natural entities. There's entities that have the property of being natural, right? Yeah. Like you, me, animals, trees, all that stuff, all that jazz. What we don't have shared is that there's supernatural things, right? And for that reason, the simpler explanation would be one that shares background information between people who have the aim in accommodating some fact with an explanation, right? An explanation is better suited theoretically when it cooperates with shared information between you and I, right? It's not committing you to something controversial. Supernatural things that's a controversy between you and I, that they're supernatural things. It's introducing a type of existence I don't accept. And for that reason, it's simpler to not commit to a new type of existence.
Okay, yeah. I agree.
But also it's more probable too, remember. Like we have more background information that natural phenomena are explained naturalistically too.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing to disagree on.
All right, well, do you have anything else before I move to my next guest, or is that it?
That's it.
All right, well, it was nice talking. Have a great one.
You too, bye.
All right, word. All right, let's move to our next guest. I wanted to talk to this little chat rat who was saying that, I don't know, no philosophy. And then he ended up leaving. Actually, did he leave or he just stopped requesting? Let me see. I think he did leave, but hey, what's up? Do you got good evidence that God exists, or what's up?
Yeah, there's evidence that points to God.
Like what?
It's undeniable. It's math. I'm sure you've heard of Bohr's law.
Bones law?
Bohr's? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's
Bohr's
law?
Or
something like that. Bohr's law. You heard that, I'm sure.
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
It's just the
I'm
law.
not a science guy, so.
It's just a law of infinite probability. So basically, it just says you take something with very low probability, and as you approach infinity, the probability of that increases to infinity. So if there's a very low probability of something happening.
Well, it would be the opposite. As the probability distribution expands, or as the sample space for partitioning possibilities expand, then the probability distribution for any partitioner decreases as the possibility space increases. If that's all you're describing, I don't know what that. I mean,
No,
yeah, that's like some.
No, basically it says it. So basically, it just I don't know where did you just read that, because that's not correct.
No, this is like basic probability.
No.
The sum probability of a possibility space is equal to 1. So given that there's more possibilities, there's more distribution, right? That sums to 1.
No. It's no. It's,
I mean, this is just.
It's not what I made up. This is a known law. This is Bohr's law.
I'm not saying you're making anything up. I'm saying what I'm saying is actually like a truism in like Kolmogorov probability and basically any epistemic type of calculus or epistemic probability. So I don't know.
No, because that would go against the law. That is a mathematical law. That it's a law of very large numbers. As you approach infinity, something with a low probability of happening will happen over and over again until it increases to infinity. I mean, you can look it up on Google right now.
Yeah, I mean,
you're wrong about your concept of it. Your basic understanding.
Wait, what am I wrong about?
Faulty. Your basic understanding.
I wasn't even talking about. I'm not familiar with that language. I was just describing a truism in probability.
Well, that's fundamentally wrong. Then
what I said is fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, you might misunderstand it.
Oh, so can you explain to me how what I said is wrong?
You said as you take something with low probability, and as you approach infinity, there's more chances of other things to happen, so that probability decreases, something like that, because the probability space increases, so the probability of that happening decreases, which is
and you disagree with that?
That's backwards.
You understand?
Fundamentally wrong.
Okay, let's just get some basic things out of the way. You understand that that the possibility space, the exhausting a possibility space is a tautology, right?
We're talking about infinity.
Yeah, that's not.
So you don't exhaust possibility space.
That's not answering. Just.
Well, your statement is just wrong.
Look, that was a question. Look, just answer the question. Are you aware that the probability? So you understand that the max probability is 1, right? You understand that 100% is just like that's just surely you understand that there's no exceeding the probability of 1, right?
Okay.
Okay. So when you exhaust the possibility space, right, that is going to be identical to the value of 1. Thanks for the hat, Flenser. Thanks, Josh. Look, if it's all the possibilities that we can consider, right? We're exhausting all the possibilities. Then the probability it's any of all the possible explanations that's going to sum to 1. We're aware of that.
I'm not following your logic. It sounds like you're begging the question.
Oh my God. I'm literally just describing core tenets of Kolmogorov probability. This is just like not something that's contentious. Look, just try and actually listen to what I'm saying. Do you understand how if we exhaust the possibility space, so that's the set of all possible alternatives.
So that's where you're begging the question. Exhausting the possibility space. What does that mean? Exhausting the possibility space.
Hold on, that's equal to 1. Yeah, what I mean by exhausting the possibility space is if we clearly defined the set of possible alternatives.
That's not what this is about. You're describing something. I don't even know where you're going.
That's fine. I understand. You obviously are not as competent as you make yourself out to be in basic tenets of probability. And I'm I'm walking you through a dialogue flow to have you apprehend something that something that's germane to the conversation. And instead of walking through the points, you just keep saying at every point, you don't understand what I'm saying. That's question begging. When I'm just defining,
you're begging the question. You're assuming that you're assuming there's an you're stating that question, assuming that the answer is that you can exhaust the probability space. Like you can run out of probability space. Like there's a limited amount. You're assuming there's a limit by saying exhaust the probability space. You're putting a finite amount of space on that possibility. Otherwise, how can you exhaust it? How can you exhaust infinite?
That's an assumption. That's an assumption itself.
That's what you're doing. That's what your statement is. It's in your statement.
That's baked into the statement. I'm telling you that's false, and that's something you're assuming.
No, I'm not. It's baked into your statement. You baked it into your statement.
You said that now 3 times.
We'll try to get it this time.
You just keep interrupting me to repeat yourself.
Okay, go.
That's not true. That's an assumption you made. There's no reason to think that when I say exhaust the possibility space, that the size or the cardinality of the possibility space, or I don't even want to use language like that, just the size of the possibility space has to be finite. There's nothing there. I don't know how you're making that inference. There is no inference, in fact. You've just assumed that. You just assumed the language of exhaust makes it such that the possibility space is only exhausted if the possibility space is finite, and that's not something that I've ever communicated. You smuggled that in.
That's in the word exhaust.
No,
What,
it's not in the
explain
word
what you
exhaust.
mean by okay.
It's
Break it down. Explain what you mean by exhaust the probability space. Explain it.
Where
Like
did
I'm
you
five.
get? Wait, where did you get that? Where did you get in
The word you said?
Wait. Where did you get that in the word exhaust? The meaning of the word exhaust, or somehow it follows from the meaning of exhaust, or it is contained in the meaning of exhaust, that to exhaust something is only possible if there's a finite, if the number of elements in a domain is finite. Where are you getting that?
What do you think it means?
No, you said that. I said that.
You did say exhaust. Exhaust implicates finiteness.
No,
what do you think exhaust means?
You're not.
Explain
You're not
it.
listening.
Like I'm five.
You're not listening.
Okay, explain the phrase exhaust the possibilities.
Stop.
Like I'm five.
I'm gonna start muting you if you're gonna keep acting belligerent. When I say stop, you don't just keep steamrolling. I did not say you're over talking me again. I did not say that you wrongly put into my mouth the words exhaust. Like you're fucking joking. I said that you claimed I said that to exhaust means that it's finite. You said that, and I never said anything of the such.
You didn't say those words, but I said it's baked in like 5 times. Try to get what I'm saying. That's why I said baked in.
How did you get it's baked in?
Because the word exhaust implies finiteness, a finite amount.
That's the claim. How does it imply that?
What do you mean? How can you exhaust infinite?
How?
You cannot. What's the definition of infinite? What's the definition of finite versus the definition of infinite?
It's infinite. It's infinite, not infinite.
What does that mean?
Look, dude.
What does that mean? What does infinite mean? Where
did you get the implication from?
English, dude. Like, do you not understand the words that are coming out of your mouth? Explain to me, like I'm five, what exhaust the possibility means.
You understand, if I literally go in Oxford, it's not going to define the word exhaust, to which it talks about any type of restriction on the size of a domain. So I don't know what you're talking about. To exhaust requires it to be finite. And that's like just true if you're familiar with, like, you're just a competent speaker in the English language, that you'll know that's what it means. That's not what it means. It's not a part of the definition. You pulled that bullshit out of your ass. Neither is that true in mathematics. Neither is it true in mathematics that the word exhaust is used in a technical way where, in order to exhaust a domain, requires the domain to be finite in size. Those are neither in the folk language of exhaust, neither in the rigorous way mathematicians use that type of nomenclature language. So you're just bullshitting on every front.
If I exhaust all my energy...
Wait. You said it is. You said it is. So how about you pull... Yeah, go get me.
I'll do a Google search right now.
Go get me a source in mathematics. Yeah, go find me a source where in math they define exhaust to where it can only be finite.
Let's look up the definition of exhaust. Use up resources completely. Expel.
That's not the sense of the word.
Particular place. Do you mean to expel into a particular place? Is that what you mean? Oh, then what do you mean? Explain it like I'm five.
Really? You think that's what I mean in the context of the conversation?
It is baked in.
Exhaust the possibility space means. Just translate the definition you just asked me.
Go ahead.
See if it makes sense in the context.
Like I'm five.
Look, you're a bullshitter.
I'm begging you.
You're a bullshitter.
I'm begging you to explain it like I'm five.
You're freaking out, right? You're getting really nervous, freaking out, and you're not engaging.
Explain it like I'm.
And I don't know why you're unmuting to do what you're doing. Just calm down and listen. So it's false that my definition of exhaust has anything to do with finite. You bullshit it. You know you bullshit it. You have no reason to believe that. You have no argument that there's an implication from that, and you have no resources that define it either in folk English language, nor as used by mathematicians, right? I presume. So we can get off this point. You're just a bullshitter. Now, do you understand what was my point about something trivial in probability? That when you increase the domain of possibilities, that the distribution would then increase, which means that the probability for any given explanation would decrease.
You're intellectually disingenuous because you need to explain your phrase exhaust the possibilities.
This guy's so stupid. Like, why am I talking with this guy? This guy's like so brain dead. He doesn't even understand anything about what he's talking about. It's like really bad.
Hello?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, you got good evidence that God exists, or?
I can tell you the reasons why I believe in God. So,
well, I'm not really hearing you explaining like why you believe so. I'm just curious whether you think you have good evidence that God exists. There's people who think that they can explain to me why they believe in God, and they would agree that they don't have good evidence. So I'm just asking if you have good evidence.
Well, I believe this is good evidence. I mean, it's more evidence for me to believe in it. So, I mean, it's natural for humans to believe in God. So it's just a natural thing for us. Most people in like human history have believed in God, even like way back then, and even how people still believe in God. And I believe that Jesus did rise and die, and then came back to life.
Well, you're saying a whole lot of stuff. Just you're talking about Jesus resurrecting, and then on the other hand, you're talking about whether believing God's natural, and I don't know what believing God has, whether we're natural, that people believe in. First, I don't even know what any of that means. and it's likely my intuition as to what I would interpret that to mean would just be straightforwardly false, right? That we have that's natural, and even if it were true, it's natural. That's not an evidence. So maybe it's best we just talk about the resurrection. Is that fair? Or?
Well, I mean, it is natural though, because I mean, I think for somebody to be an atheist, you have to have a reason to be atheist. But you don't like.
So would you for a theist?
No.
For any belief, you'd have to have a reason.
No, I think if you just grew up, like let's say like you just like grew up like in nature, and like then you just
that's just question
naturally believe in God.
But that's just assuming that it's natural to believe in God, which I don't. To be honest, again, I don't know what that means. But let's just presume I understand what that means. No, I have no reason to think that.
Well,
are you just saying people have the intuition that God exists? Because then that's not a reason, right? Just in virtue of the fact they have an intuition that God exists. Okay, people can have that intuition.
No, I'm just saying like.
I mean, a lot of people have insane intuitions, so.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, you could look at like uncontacted tribes, and I think every single like uncontacted tribe believes in a God. So.
But what would that do?
I don't know. It's just kind of interesting how like people like who just grow up naturally, just naturally believe. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't have no outward factors tell them.
Yeah, but that's like I'm not seeing how that's any reason. I think the belief in God is natural, and I don't see how if the belief in God were natural, that does anything to support theism. It just seems like you're saying that people are disposed to having an intuition. Theism is true, and if that were true, intuitions are not justification, so they're not good reasons to believe in it. In fact, they're not any reason. Yeah. They're a different sense of the word reason, which we're not talking about.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting and stuff. But I mean, yeah, I believe that Jesus died.
I mean, most philosophers have the intuition that God doesn't exist. And philosophers are philosophy is the field that investigates the existence of God. So that should, like, most people on the planet do not have basic tenets of philosophy, or even have good like inferential faculties. So my judgment. So talking about like the judgment about what's common in a given relevant population of people would just be obviously the fact more philosophers have the intuition that God doesn't exist would be a stronger case that God doesn't exist than most people historically believing in God.
Yeah, but I think it just has a lot to do with outside factors on why people don't believe in God.
I don't think any of this is really interesting. Maybe we should just talk about, you said that you think Jesus resurrecting is good evidence of God.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because if Jesus really died, they really crucified him, and then he really rose again, I mean, I'm going to believe everything that he said, and I do believe everything that he said.
But saying you're going to believe it is you're just like reporting your psychology. What I'm trying to understand is why would I think if Jesus resurrected that's a strong indication that Christian theism is true?
Well, because it suggests that there's something after death. It's not just the end. Because have you ever seen anything die and not come back to life?
But like that's just like a jump. But I'm trying to. Okay, so we have the fact. We want to bridge the gap between the proposition that we're going to grant for the sake of argument, which is Jesus resurrected, to the proposition Christian theism is true. Now, I'm not seeing how you kind of how you're going to tether the two propositions in a way that fact supports Christian theism in any interesting way, right? So how are we getting from Jesus resurrected to Christianity is true?
Because, wait, so if you believe Jesus resurrected from the dead, you wouldn't believe he's God? You would just think he does magic or something?
Yeah, I would probably believe something like that far before Christian theism.
Okay, then what about everything that he said before
the probability? Yeah, look, so imagine we had a hypothesis. There's aliens that had the technological aptitude, so they had the technological capability to produce all the feats that are attested to in Christian theism. And let's also say that it's stipulated of the hypothesis that aliens, these types of aliens, their utmost desire, right? And there's nothing that motivates them stronger to do anything other than their strongest value they have is to deceive humanity of Christianity, right? And of course remain hidden, right? What you would expect, and given we also can say something like they have, peak inferential faculties too. They can deduce all the expectations of Christianity. They can better interpret scripture than us. We would expect all these same facts, right? Just true. It would just mirror the type of explanatory power. It would expect all the same facts equally. Now I can explain why the aliens hypothesis is preferred for a plethora of reasons.
So if Jesus rose from the dead,
you cut out.
Yeah, my bad. So if Jesus rose from the dead, you think it'll be aliens?
No, let's say
you think that's true. You think it'll be aliens?
No, I probably wouldn't. But what I'm saying is that this explanation is preferred to Christianity.
I don't think so, because
I can explain how it is.
Okay. Explain.
Yeah, it's more probable and it's more simpler. It's more simpler because it's not committing you to supernatural things, and it's more probable because we have background information. Like every mind we're aware of is connected to like like some type of neurosystem, right? Or has like a nervous system, stuff like that, which Christian theism commits you to there being a mind that doesn't have that. So the probability of theism is less than. In addition, with we have background information that for any given natural phenomena, that's more likely explained naturalistically than supernaturalistically. So there's two things that motivate the probability of the aliens hypothesis, in addition with the fact that the hypothesis is simpler.
So I think I get what you're saying. So you're saying like aliens would be more probable because we can actually like study it, or like we can actually
they would be more probable because we have background information that makes it more probable. And I'm also saying that the hypothesis is what we might want to say more virtuous, right? A simpler hypothesis is preferable.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I'll question why the aliens would do that, and
I can question all the same things for Christianity. I don't know why God does anything he does. Look, my brother got a sty in his eye last week. No joke. Okay.
Yeah, what's going on?
It's in God's will. Yeah, what's up, Venus? I don't know why it's in God's will for him to allow that. God could have just not prevented him to have a sty. I don't know why God doesn't act to prevent stuff. I don't know why God allows certain things to come to fruition. I don't know anything about God's psychology or how he reasons. I don't know anything about how his type of cognitive processes. I don't know anything about God for why any given event obtains, right? So we're on the same boat about that. I'm just talking about when we reason evidentially, when we consider explanations. When I construct an explanation, like there's aliens that have this desire, it's not interesting to say, well, why do they have these desires, right? Like in the same way, like imagine a child doesn't know why what causes clouds, right? Or what causes rain clouds or something. Or they don't know basic meteorology or cloud formation, any of that crap. A kid might say, when it rains, we would expect the floor to be wet. So when the floor is wet, that's evidence it rains. And it would make no sense to say, well, why does it raining cause the floor to be wet? A child might not understand that type of process. Nonetheless, they're still in a position to make claims about what is evidence if it did rain. They don't need to know those facts. So we don't need to know why the aliens had this desire or why they have that technology. In the same way, we don't need to know why God has these desires and all that stuff. That would just undercut all of theoretical and evidential reasoning altogether, right? That's just not a legitimate type of tactic in undercutting these types of reasoning.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it just seems to me you can do that for anything. You could just better explain any given fact with aliens than Christianity. And I think there are way better ones than that, than aliens, of course. I don't believe in aliens, even if, in fact, the probability that Jesus resurrected is so low that it doesn't seem like there would be any compelling evidence even for that.
Well,
supposing it's true, I would think that theism is probably closer to one of the least likely explanations for Jesus resurrected.
The funny thing is, theism probably has a better probability without invoking the rising of the Christ than invoking the rising of the Christ.
That is true, actually. Funny enough, yeah. It's like it's like they add these constraints to generate, make expectations, and it doesn't do anything to overcompensate the priors.
Let me prove Christianity to you by vastly lowering the prior and not giving you any evidence for it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I never understood how people about this, whatever, but.
Although Monkey got banned for 20 days since last time.
20?
Just got banned.
It wasn't even. Oh, really? That long? That's crazy.
I don't think I was even that bad, though, was I?
Not really. I mean, you were saying a little crazy stuff, but it was mainly just talking about bad bitches' butts bouncing in the beach and whatever. No. I remember what you were saying. Yeah, it was pretty bad. No, never mind. I can't believe I didn't get banned for keeping you up, and I would bring you back because you kept saying the R word. Other crazy stuff.
I was kind of disappointed with you.
No, I couldn't because when they ban, because what happens is even though I didn't get banned, what they could do is the AI can, because people know when they say an R word, they can say the R word and end the live so they don't get banned, right? But what happened is TikTok Studio, since there's a center where they upload onto the cloud the videos, they can pick up on you saying that stuff and they would lock the video. So you can't get it. And that's what happened. I even contacted them and I tried to use the BS excuse. Oh, there was no restriction on the live. They're like, no, the content contained stuff that's not allowed. So they locked it. I really did want that content. That content was hilarious. That was so funny, especially when you're up with that Muslim guy. That's when it really got crazy and spicy. But nah, TikTok locked that up. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about before I move to my next guest?
You mean you couldn't clip it and upload it without getting repercussion?
No, they don't even allow you to view it. It's just completely locked off to you.
Oh, I see. So you don't record live. You rather go back and get the clips.
Yeah. I don't record. It's too annoying. Like I would have to get like some type of, was it BlueStack or some type of that proxy shit to like stream it on
You don't want
computer.
that stuff. Fuck that.
Yeah, and those are like, they run slow and all that crap. I don't do that.
Wait, Jack is on the. You should get Jack. Oh, there's Jack.
Yeah, he just got in here.
Yo, Jack, how you there, buddy?
What's up?
Yo, did you watch me last time I was on Monkey Boys Live?
Yeah, he was here. You kept calling him Jackson and was talking about the.
I think I saw some
buds.
of it.
No, you were there,
It was
remember?
a museum or something,
Oh, I
right?
was here. Okay.
It was when he was at the beach and he was drinking.
Oh yeah,
He was like, Jackson,
that's right.
I'm gonna send you the
photo
photos.
of the girls at the beach. Yeah.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah.
Wait, I called you Jason.
He said Jackson. But it was, and you kept saying to everyone, "My brother in Christ." It was hilarious. I really, looking back now, I even want that content more. I was actually frustrated that shit got locked up. I thought I could have gotten away with it because sometimes when you know, obviously I knew they were going to try and lock it up, but sometimes you can end the live quick and go to the studio center, and right as it uploads to the studio center, you can download it before they lock it. But when I got there, it was already locked. So, but either of you two, since you guys are here, you can talk with the new guest up here.
Yo, what's
It
up?
hasn't been bad. I haven't gotten like terrible guests. Surprisingly, they're like capable of talking. So hopefully, I don't know who this guy is. I
Yo,
don't.
what's up? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. You think you got good evidence of God, or
I'll say the universe.
The what?
y'all want to take this? He said the universe is evidence.
How's the universe and evidence for God? I think the universe is evidence against that God exists.
How is it against God?
Oh, because there's like a lot of evil. Why would like evil exist if God existed?
No, I'm not talking about whatever that's going on in the universe. The universe in itself and its beginning is what I'm talking about.
Why
The
do you think
energy,
universe
the
began,
matter,
though?
and
I
everything
think
that's
the universe
created.
began. I think the universe always existed. Why do you think the universe began?
Wait. It always existed. It didn't have any beginning.
That's correct. Yeah,
It didn't have any beginning.
that's correct.
Where did you get your knowledge of science from?
From like I think like the Big Bang theory, for example, according to like the Goethian theory allows for like an eternal past universe. I think like
According to science, according to scientists, the universe has a beginning. So what are you talking about,
where do you get that? According to science, the universe has a beginning.
bro?
Can you
We have the
think
number of years assigned to the universe. Saying no, the universe began 1 billion years ago and stuff.
Can you show me like one scientific paper that says the universe began like 1 billion years ago?
Oh,
I'll just give you an example. For example, Alan Guth allows for like a past eternal universe. John Carroll's model allows for like a past eternal universe. Penrose's models allow for like a past eternal universe. I can name like a number of models, but you just told me like according to science, the universe began like 1 billion years ago. This is like a big news from. I thought the Earth.
yeah,
Like 4.5 billion years ago.
according to the microwave background, right? It says that there was a name. The universe began 13.8 billion years old
Wait, the
or
universe
ago.
began or the universe expanded?
No.
Can you show me like a?
The universe is approximately
Began?
13.8 billion years ago.
Can you show me like a scientific paper that says it began? There's like a recent paper.
No,
from the 80s?
as long as an age is assigned to something, it means it has a beginning.
Yeah. No. It
That-
expanded. It expanded.
We also
I think
using
he's
common
making-
sense. We also using common sense.
But Venus, I think he's
if I-
saying the age of the observable universe, given the Big Bang. He's
Yeah, but
confusing
that
like
just
the
means
existence
that
of the
like
universe.
part of the universe.
Hold on.
changed
If
its
you
place
assign,
13 billion years ago.
if you assign an age to a universe, does it have a beginning?
Wait, who assigns? Who's the scientist who assigns an age to the universe?
But
If I
the
say
age
something,
doesn't.
if I say something is 1 billion years ago, does it have a beginning?
What's the age of the
Depends what
observable
you mean.
universe?
Depends what you
No.
mean.
It depends on what I
Who's
mean.
this
Like
guy?
how.
Who's this guy who's assigning the age? Can you name me the scientist?
Do I have to give you a scientist's name or throw names out there
I
for you to
know
believe
a
that
scientist. Look,
scientists
I
begin
think,
that the universe is approximately 13.8 billion?
yeah, name me like a
13.8 billion
scientist who
years?
says. Name me like a scientist who says the universe is 13.4 billion years ago, and that this is undisputable, and then we have evidence for this. Can you name me one?
I can name you one scientist.
Who?
I can't.
Okay,
Does that
then
dispute?
why are you not calling them out? Then why are you wasting my time?
Does that dispute the fact that scientists came with the
Why are you
idea of
wasting my
13.8
time? Look,
billion
you're
years?
coming here.
I'm
You're
not.
talking big.
I'm
You're
not
wasting my
wasting your
time.
time.
You're wasting Jack's time.
I'm not
I
wasting your
won't
time.
say wasting Monkey Boy's time, but Monkey Boy is only like 14 years old.
Hold on.
So
I'm not wasting your time. I'm saying this to say that, right?
why are you wasting my time?
For TikTok
You're running
purposes,
your mouth.
I'm definitely not
Hold
14,
on.
obviously. I gotta be here too.
I'm not wasting your time. I'll tell you what. I'm saying this to say that, right? We
You
humans.
don't
There's a
know what
natural.
you're talking about.
Can I
You don't
speak?
know what you're talking
Can I
about.
speak?
You
Can I speak?
no, you can't speak. Go to
Bro,
Wikipedia
you don't know
type
what you're talking about.
cosmology.
You don't know
I
what
don't know.
you telling me that the
I don't
universe
know.
is not start. It's what's
I'm telling you,
right
it's
now.
debatable within contemporary cosmology
Or
whether the
it's
universe has a
debatable.
beginning or not.
So it could have a start.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so then let's not say
It's not
it doesn't
difference
have
when
a
you
start.
came here to begin with. You
Look,
says according to science it had
bro,
a start.
bro,
Now you're saying,
bro,
maybe it
bro.
had a start, maybe it didn't.
Is it possible
You're
that the universe could have a start?
It's
No
possible
one's
that
Okay,
disputing
that's it.
that.
Look,
it's
I'm saying
possible
this
that
to
you're
say
like a
that. Look,
pig who muted into a
I'm
human
saying,
being.
I'm
Well,
saying
that's
that.
possible interesting.
I'm
How is
saying that.
possible interesting?
Hold on.
Possible just means it doesn't have a
Hold on.
contradiction. How is possible interesting?
Hold on. I'm saying this to
Possibly
say
your
that.
mom doesn't know your father.
This
How
guy,
is it,
bro.
how is it
I actually
interesting?
came in to talk to him. I
Possible
don't know
isn't
why he's
interesting.
attacking the
Give me the argument. I don't care about possible. Give me the argument.
I actually came in to talk to Monkey Boy. I think he's
Give me
cool.
the
I like him.
argument. I don't care about possible. Possible.
I think
Possible.
Monkey
Your
Boy.
father is
Monkey
your
Boy, can I talk to
grandfather
you?
who came to
Because
your
this guy
mother's
is
bed
talking
when your
over me.
father was
Monkey Boy, can I talk
outside.
to you?
Give me the
Try,
argument.
try,
Look,
Give
here,
me the
can I talk to you?
look, let's just take a couple steps back. You can talk with Venus, and if it seems like it doesn't go anywhere, maybe we'll
Okay.
swap the
Yeah.
spot. I'll
Monkey,
probably have you talk with
this is
Jack
what I'm
after.
trying to
Doesn't
say.
matter.
This is what I'm trying.
You get
This is
Venus?
what I'm trying to say,
Possible.
Monkey. This is what I'm trying to say, right? Monkey, you believe in evolutionary psychology, right?
Evolutionary psychology?
Yeah.
Evolutionary psychology is just so stories. Who believes in that?
Wait, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what has to do with everything, right? Monkey, do you think the natural phenomenon in the human world that majority of humans believe in God is just a myth?
Where do you get the
Yeah,
majority of people
no.
believe in God? 1 second. Where did you get this
Oh
appearance?
my God! I'm going to peer review.
Give me the peer review.
I'm going to peer review research center. Go to peer review research center.
Give me the peer review. You just said peer review. Give me the peer
You
review.
don't know anything, boy. Shut up.
But
Let me
we
talk
can
to
grant him
you.
this.
Give me the
What,
peer
what's
review.
this?
You don't know anything. Shut up. Let me talk to Monkey, bro. Monkey, you're a cool guy. I like the way you speak. I like the way you handle yourself. This guy's not handling himself very well. He's not handling himself very well. Monkey, I want you to explain to me. I want you to explain to me the fact that Monkey, can I talk to you? Monkey, can I talk to you? But Monkey,
Give the peer review.
Monkey, can I talk to you?
Give the peer review.
Oh my
I mean,
God, this guy.
Give the peer review.
Monkey, can I talk to you?
Give the peer review, Monkey.
Anyway, Monkey, I'll come back when you're
Don't
free,
let
bro.
this
Because this guy's he's hijacking everything,
Give him
bro.
to give the peer review.
I mean, I don't even know what he was. We should have just granted that because I don't know. That was not honestly the peer review stuff didn't really matter. Like I don't know what he was gonna. We were talking about the universe having a beginning, and he's talking about most people believing in God.
You should let Jack talk to that guy. I don't know why you had me. Like I'm too vicious.
Well, I said either of you two, and Jack. I don't know where he's like in a museum or something.
You know, Jack. If that guy said evolutionary psychology, Jack would have had like a heart attack. Is that right, Jack?
What do you have? Yeah, Jack, you would have like tweaked if you said that. I don't think he could talk. You there, Jack?
Jack, are you
Jackson.
Jackson.
Jackson, you there?
I'll be right back.
No,
Sorry.
Jackson. All right. Well, we got no one here. We've been having consistently
Daniel,
60
man.
viewers and consistently no likes. Y'all gotta
Why doesn't
tap.
Moxie
Get to like
join your stage?
50K. You want Moxie up here?
Yeah, why doesn't Moxie join your stage?
Moxie can. I don't like having too much people. I mean, this was supposed to be one-on-one. I brought you up because it hasn't been. I mean, it's been a while.
Wait, you saying you lost the footage from like when I was like drunk, like berating the guy from last time?
Unfortunately,
Oh, that's such a shame.
That was
You
so
know what,
funny, though. It really
I
was.
thought you were like going professional. You were like, no, I just want like professional debates from now on my channel.
I actually maybe this guy could talk with you, Venus. I talked about this guy before, actually a lot.
Which guy?
Because his name's hold on, I actually forgot it. Or Ray Loco. I don't know how to pronounce that, to be honest, but I don't know if he could come up, but if he can, then he could talk with you.
Well, this
Oh, yeah.
Orion
How do you pronounce your name, by the way? I've actually
Orianko.
Okay, Orianko. Yeah, this guy's a theist. Are you fine with talking with V under here? Venus, he's V.
Yes. So, what's your
Oh.
background? Do you know physics, mathematics, or even biology? I can talk it all, but you need to have background in any one of those to even understand what I'm saying. Do you?
You there, Venus? He wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Do I have understanding of what?
Do you have understanding of physics concepts, even theories, even laws? That's fine. Mathematics, that's fine too.
Which
But you
theories
need
of
at least one of
physics?
those two.
Which
Excuse
theories of
me?
physics? Which theories of physics?
What's your background? Because I can talk all about it. So let's start with that. What's your background? Let's start with one thing.
What do you have a degree in?
I have an electrical engineering.
Do you have like a bachelor's or master's or what?
I have a bachelor's in electrical and master's in information technology
I see. Do you have
Master's
a
of science in information technology.
You have a degree in
Excuse me?
philosophy? You have a degree in philosophy?
So I grew up in a lot of philosophy, and I needed to
You grew
find
up in
some.
philosophy. What does that mean?
So you're not answering my question first. Do you know physics or not, or mathematics? That's fine too.
No, I don't have a background in physics or bio. I have a background in philosophy and especially philosophy of religion. But I don't think you're qualified to talk about God because you don't have a background in philosophy of religion.
Sure. I don't think I'm qualified to talk to you. That's what I'm trying to find out, and I
So you
agree.
don't have a qualification.
Yes, I agree that I don't have qualification. You need at least a physics or mathematics, and I'm underqualified. I think you're overqualified with your degree in religion and philosophy, right? So I want to talk with underqualified people, not overqualified people like you.
What are we doing? Let's cut the qualification shit. Just
I tell you what, let's just
talk about his
I'll
argument.
tell you what, all right,
Just talk
we're
about-
all uneducated, retarded people. Let's just go.
Well, no, I gotta drop you. No slurs.
really?
You can't say that. Just say like I don't know, brain damaged. You can say that instead. You're killing me, bro. Come on.
I'm sorry, I just qualified from high school, or I can go ahead. Like, what do you want to debate? I just finished high school. I qualified with the monkey boy. We both did like just finished high school.
No, I just got out of middle school actually.
Monkey boy just finished middle school. I just finished high school.
Yeah.
Right, what do you want to talk about? Jackson just finished college.
Another Bill Grommy semester. But yeah, just give Venus your argument for God.
Like I said, right, I could give you, but even like, let's just say, right, from what I can hear, I cannot even convince Monkey Boy of physics and mathematics, and I think you are more inclined to understand that than V himself. So if I say anything to him, he's probably that 90% of the thing is going to go over his head, because I don't think like he'll even understand half of what you can get. That's why I wanted to see like, hey, what's your study, so that I can at least talk with you. But
just give us your argument, and we'll just like don't be this like argument.
So let's okay. So what happens? Do you know?
Me and you went like bar by bar.
Sure,
Yeah,
I can work along with that. So what is the relation between the second day of the creation? What happened in the Bible? Tell me. Scientifically, I mean the science behind the second day of the Bible.
Hold on, we're not doing like Q&A stuff. He wants you.
He told me, right? He wants me to
your argument.
Yes, that's what I'm producing. I'll produce him scientific argument on why the second day of the Bible gave us all the scientific knowledge of physics and mathematics we have today. You don't have to know that.
Like when it says like the above waters and the below waters like split, that's like something scientific.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Do you know physics concept and mathematics concept?
No, I don't know.
We said
I'm like, one second. Let me ask you something. Like the guy who wrote Second Genesis, do you think he knew these concepts they can apply?
I'm sorry.
The guy who wrote Genesis, do you?
Oh, you got muted.
Oh, you cut out.
You're in the background now.
Maybe get a call.
Monkey Boy, just ask him. Does he think that the writer of Genesis knew these concepts that he's gonna apply when he said like the above waters and the below waters like split?
Yeah, like these technical mathematical concepts you keep asking about. Do you think that the writers of Genesis, when they wrote this in scripture, that they're like at all like aware of these types of concepts?
So, do you know a mathematician named Ramanujan? Do you know him or no?
No, but that's just not an answer. But like, let's look, put all the bullshit, all this meta on both sides is just not interesting. Just render the argument that you have for theism, and let's see how Venus.
I could, like I said, I could argue like each point on the first page of Bible, and for all of that, you need mathematics and physics. You know why? Because on the first day of Genesis,
the mathematics and it's not going anywhere. We'll just end it. But the kind of like
that's why I want to end it.
Stuff is kind of boring.
No, so that's why I want to end it. I don't think. Yeah, I'm qualified.
Just try and give the argument and see how it goes.
No, I'm not qualified for him because he has a background in religion and philosophy, which I don't. Right? I can only talk in two things.
Let's just try. Let's just try and. Okay,
I'm sorry. That is.
You said that I'm.
See if I can get Dan to join.
Dan who?
So okay. So
Dan
do you know
Linford.
what is the distance to the moon?
Dan Linford? No, that's what's up.
Do you know what the distance to the moon is?
Jack, do you want to talk to this guy? I was gonna ask you like factoids, like how far is the sun from Venus?
I think I talked to him before.
All right. So do you see? You need to know the light speed of light, which means that whatever you see on the moon can be fabricated because it's 1 second away. We don't know the evidence of how light behaves because on the first day he separated light from the darkness. On the first day, on the second day he has to create space. You know how space forms? Space is tangibility. Tangibility is defined by momentum. You know how momentum works? Momentum has to work in a sine and cosine way. Now, if I explain all of that, you need mathematics. Do you understand any of it, Pete?
Yeah, I took like high school physics, but how is this like relevant to the debate currently? That's what I'm kind of confused about.
You see, Monkey Boy, I explained a lot of it, and he's just trying to say like how is this related. When I explained to him what happened on the first day and second day of the Bible, and how that scientifically created the mathematical equations and all the theory we have today.
You're like offering like some type of explanation using like mathematics, but what that really isn't is like an argument.
Yes, that's a mathematical argument, like you said. Yes, that isn't just an argument. That's a mathematical argument, and you need a mathematical mind to understand that argument.
Or like maybe it isn't going anywhere. But if you stick around,
Yes,
we're trying to get someone up here who's actually a philosopher who's competent in physics and maths. So if you stick around and we're able to get him up here, you can maybe talk.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Linford in there? Jackson, you're gonna get Linford in there?
Yeah, he said he's gonna try. So there's not a guarantee, but all right.
Kangaroos were not made in the ark. They were generated after crossbreeding. If you want to know the answer,
I'm gonna drop you down. If you stick around whenever.
Thank you for having me.
If that, yeah, no problem. Just wish it was a little more fruitful, but we got our next guest, I guess. Yeah, what's up?
How you doing, man? Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you good. You think you have good evidence that God exists, or?
Yeah, I'm kind of understanding how these panels work, but yes, I think what the previous guy was saying that he didn't really get into, and it can get really odd. But I'll say for myself, I had my own revelation experience, and I wasn't a big believer. I'm not Christian and those things. But what happened was I was given or able to understand how everything was put together. And the more that I saw the patterns of how this world was put together, how people operate, the zodiac, I mean, literally anything you could name, it was too much overwhelming evidence of how everything had to be an exact design to say it was just an accident. There had to be a creator. Now, the natural sense of what God is, no. How people go about it and, the patriarchy and all of that. But, go ahead.
Well, let's try and go slow step by step and make sure I'm following. So you're saying that the compelling evidence for you is the design in the world, right?
The design to the entire universe, but the world, we could start there, yes.
And you're saying that the reason I think that there's design is because it's more likely than it being an accident, right?
Correct.
Okay, and by an accident, you just mean non-designed, right?
Too many random, well, yes, I guess to simplify it, yes.
Yes, so why would I think that it's more likely that the world is designed than not?
So if I were to grab a box of puzzle pieces, and if I were to throw those puzzle pieces, just throw the box on the floor, I'm sure there's some percentage chance that all the puzzle pieces would absolutely connect, but it's highly improbable. If I were to step away from that, if all those puzzle pieces were able to connect and make sense, but those puzzle pieces were also able to become alive and operate, that would be incredibly unlikely. If all those puzzle pieces were to connect, be alive, and then have an actual intersection with everything else on the planet and in the universe, that's damn near impossible. So someone had to architect that.
Yeah, what I can agree maybe that the phenomena of life arising is really unlikely, or the relevant physical facts required to permit life, that those are unlikely. But what I'm not seeing is how is it more likely that there's a God that brings about a world like this than not? Then if these physical facts came to fruition without a God, or without a designer, what I'm not seeing is how that's more likely. The saying one is unlikely isn't showing that the other is more likely, right? It might be that the other is even less likely.
I guess I just strongly disagree with that. I don't know how. I operate with metaphors and analogies. I could throw those puzzle pieces on the floor. I can't say that one is more likely. I cannot say that it is more likely that that would have randomly came together. It is absolutely less likely that would have randomly came together. So if you were, and just for a moment, the previous speaker, he got all into the education, which I thought was weird. But if you were able to connect how government structures operate, correlate it to how we operate as people, and correlate that to horoscopes, so to speak, and then the structure of a solar system, all of those things, they have correlating factors they're designed.
Okay, but you said that, like, I'm still, okay, so your claim is that it's more likely that it's designed than not. And correct. I'm just not seeing why would I think that.
So is the argument that life, well, you said life, but as our universe and planet came about?
I think you're under a false impression of what it is. I'm not arguing that it's more likely it's not by God. What I'm right now doing is kind of like investigating your reasons to believe in theism and whether you're justified. And you're saying that the reason to believe in theism is in light of the fact that design's more likely than not. And what I'm not seeing is reason I think that's true, that proposition is true. And I'm just asking, like, what is the reason, the evidence you can put forward in light of that claim, right?
Right, and it just goes back to a little bit of what the original gentleman was speaking. There is a single unity. If you believe in evolution, whatever anyone believes in, everything had to start from a single source. What would that single source be if not God?
You're saying that everything has a single causal source, that everything like traces back to a first cause? Everything
traces back to a first item or energy, if you will. Where would everything have come from?
You want to say that the first thing causally explains everything else, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. But then it's not clear. It seems like we're kind of even jumping ship from a type of teleological argument to a cosmological argument. But in any case, what I'm not really seeing is, like, why would I even think there's a first cause, and that everything has some unified causal source, if you want to put it like that. It's not clear why I would think there is a first cause, and that the first cause causally explains everything.
And I think I'll keep harkening back to what he was unable to explain, which it may be awesome if you guys could get someone on. But I think the problem with people that take a unison approach or a scientific approach or even a religious approach, because I disagree with that, is the fact that they're all separate. If you remove that ideology that all things are separate and see them, you can see the correlations of how they all operate together, and then that brings you back to that single unison that everything started from a single point.
Yeah, Jack, you there? You want to talk with this guy? Continue the conversation.
Okay. Well, the thing is, I don't really understand the reasoning. Although you've got people in the queue, so.
Oh yeah.
If you want, I'll talk to him if you want, but.
Yeah, for a bit. We'll move on soon after, if that's fine.
I just don't see what the reasoning is supposed to be.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. It seems like there's an impasse.
Like, why is there, when you say it's more likely that the idea is something like it's more likely that a God would engineer things like life and then it would come about through some unguided process. That's like the idea, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but why is that? I don't understand.
I mean, when you say why is it more likely, I mean, from
Yeah,
my
why is
personal
it more
belief,
likely?
because I can look at this example, every example on this planet, and know that nothing has been created on accident that had intelligent design.
I don't understand. So, like, I can look at the same things. I don't see why I would think that they were intelligently designed.
Intelligently designed. Could you accidentally mix two chemicals that are not intelligent design and create? Has that been done before? Yes, but it didn't create a new element. The element already existed. I have to create children. They are created by a design and a process. Everything is created by an actual design.
Well,
So
I don't understand. So, like an avalanche, is that caused by a designer?
so I'm not saying action. I'm saying actual items, actual
Look,
tangible
Sim,
things are created by.
maybe we could pick up on this conversation at another time. You can like feel free
Yeah.
to come back another time because there's a couple other people who are
Yeah,
waiting.
let's move because he doesn't seem especially productive.
Yeah, it's fine. We can bring you back up another day. It's no problem. What's the status on Linford coming up here? What's it looking
I
like?
don't think he's messaged me back yet.
Yeah. Well, for Linford, I'm willing to wait all day. Dude, who the hell wouldn't want Linford up here? If it's likely I could get him up here, then we gotta get Linford up here.
But aren't you
At all means.
usually? Oh, this is after. Oh, you're home from work now. That's why you're.
Yeah. I wasn't even gonna go live. I was not expected to be this exhausted after work, to be honest. But I actually just came home and took a fat ass nap. I was trying to fight off even wanting to nap and just go live, and then after I woke up from my nap, I wasn't gonna go live, but I went live. I really do need the content. I've been back to back banned, so I'm like content dry. But what's up, Julian? Do you think you have good evidence that God exists, or?
Yeah, I believe so. Hello.
Sorry, yeah. What's up? Yeah. What is the good evidence you think you have?
I think that the universe in itself is strong evidence that there's a creator. So I guess it's kind of similar to what the other guy was arguing, but the fact that the universe is here points to, I would say, it points to some type of cause. Like we don't see things in our reality that exists without a cause.
Okay? So you're saying you're making like an inductive. So you want to say like everything in our observations that they are designed, or sorry, they're caused. Therefore, the universe is caused.
Yeah, I think that's the best rational argument to take. I don't think that we have any examples.
Well, it just seems like there's an asymmetry already, right? Because it seems like the type of domain, right? So like the type of background things we have information that those things are have a cause. It seems there's like a radical difference in property between the things where we have background information that things in the universe have a cause, but it's unclear why I would think the universe itself has a cause, right?
Well, I think that nobody knows exactly. I think nobody can make the claim that we have 100% proof of anything. So I think all we can do.
No, that's that's fine. I'm not saying like you're not showing how it's like undeniably true. I'm saying that it seems like the type of induction you're doing isn't valid. Right? What I mean by that, it seems like the types of entities we have background information in which we can generalize from are ones that are strictly in the universe, and that doesn't offer any reason to really think that the universe itself has a cause.
What other kind of background knowledge can we utilize other than things that we know? That's all we can utilize.
Yeah, I'm not. No, what I'm saying is that the things we know have a cause are things in the universe, and it doesn't seem like really any amount of background information that things in the universe has a cause will offer strong reason to think the universe itself has one.
Okay, so what reasoning would you use to assume that the universe doesn't have a cause if everything in the universe does have a cause? Why would you make the jump that the universe doesn't have a cause if everything inside of it does?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the reasoning I just offered. I mean, I can say stuff like everything has a material cause, or I can say everything that I know has a cause is in the universe. The universe is not in the universe. It's kind of like a truism. I mean,
it seems like you're going to reach a point where you've got a dilemma, right? Either there's an infinite regress of prior causes, which I don't see how we can rule out, or we think that space-time just had a causeless beginning.
A causeless beginning.
And I don't see why we would rule that out either.
What's a causeless beginning? What is that?
It means that space-time begins and there's no cause.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I just don't see how that's a logical thing to assume. There's nothing.
No, we're not saying assume. We're saying that seems to be those. No, we're not saying assume. We're saying that seems to be those seem to be the choices before us.
Well, no, you left out one choice, I think.
What's that?
Well, the choices I would say are either the universe is eternal.
What's that?
Well, the choices I would say are either the universe is eternal, the universe had a cause, or you just said the universe has a causeless beginning. Now, I think the third one is a little irrational.
Why?
to make that? Well, a causeless beginning. We have never observed anything of that sort in this
But
universe.
there's lots of things that we've never observed that we have reason to believe that hold, right? Like, so for instance, we've never observed anything begin to exist without a material cause, right? Do you know what a material cause is? Sorry, I should have asked you that. So do you know what a material cause is?
What is that? Just
Material causation is the idea that when things begin to exist, they're made out of prior existing material.
Right.
So in other words, like a statue doesn't come into being out of nothing, right?
Nothing comes into being out of nothing.
Well, the point is it's made out of stone that exists prior to it. And that's not actually, presumably, your view if you're a theist, right? You don't think that the universe was made out of prior stuff, right?
No, we believe the universe was created by God.
Yeah, but did you understand my question?
Well, yeah, no, we don't believe that. No, yeah.
He's saying if it came from prior material or the material was
Yeah,
made
and so
from
obviously
no previous.
thinking that everything that begins to exist has a material cause, right, would be what's consistent with our experience, because that's all that we observe, right? But you want to say, no, there's an exception, right, which is the universe, right? So you don't actually have a problem with this kind of reasoning, right? You're perfectly happy to say that there are things that exist that are inconsistent with our experience, right?
Well,
Such as things beginning to exist without a material cause, right? So
can you give me an example of things that begin to exist without material?
a statue. No, I'm saying in our experience, everything that begins to exist has a material cause, right? When somebody makes a statue, it's made out of prior existing material, right? Marble or what have you, right? Clay.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But you want to say,
can you give me an example of things in our universe that begin to exist with an immaterial cause?
You're not quite understanding what Jack's
Yeah.
getting at. Jack's saying that it might be true that everything we observe that begins to exist as a cause, but upon deeper analysis, we realize more, right? That it actually has a material cause, and if that's true, that type of generalization is unfriendly with theism, right? That itself is a reason to think theism is not true.
Okay,
At least potentially.
I think you guys are jumping when you say things that begin to exist have a material cause, because, and I'll use this as an example, right? We talk about a statue, right? Just because stone is what created the stone isn't what made the statue come into existence, right?
no, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about the fact that for anything to begin to exist, right, it
As a cause.
presupposes some material out of which it is made, some prior existing material.
It doesn't have to be material, though. It doesn't have to be
If
material.
we're talking about material things,
Well, I'm
right?
not talking about material things. I'm talking about all things, anything.
Look,
So I don't think there's material in there. I'm just talking about things.
look, the universe, right,
Is it true all
is
things
matter
we
and
observe is
energy,
material?
right?
No.
Look, it doesn't matter
Yes.
whether there's other things, right? The fact is that there's matter and energy, right? And you want to say that's what composes at least much of the universe, matter and energy, right? Now, what I'm saying is nothing in our experience is consistent with the idea that matter and energy, that anything made out of matter, right, comes into being, right, without there being prior existing material out of which it is made, right? But on the theistic view, right, at least the typical theistic view, right, if you think God is an immaterial mind, right, the universe comes into being out of no prior material existence, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not consistent with experience, right?
That is consistent with experience.
No,
And I'll
because
explain
in
to you why it
experience.
is.
Okay,
I'll
so
explain to you.
tell me. Look, here's the question I want you to answer. Show me an example of something, right, that's material, that comes into existence, that we've observed, that does not have a prior material cause.
Yeah, so I'll explain to you. It's actually very
No,
simple.
I don't ask you to explain anything. I asked
I'm
you
gonna answer
for
your question.
no. Listen,
No, why are you yelling?
listen. No, because I can see that you're already not answering the question that I'm
Please,
asking.
please,
Hey! Look, stop over talking me. Okay, when I'm talking, you stop talking. Right now, I just want to hear
asking
what.
for an example.
Yeah, just asking for an example.
I'm
What's
about
the
to give you an
example?
example.
Yeah, just give us the example.
I was just
I don't want to
about
hear
to.
anything
No,
else.
you're
I don't want to hear
good.
anything else. Just give us the example.
Okay, I'm about to do it. You just
Yeah,
like
go ahead. Yeah, you keep saying I'm going to do it. Just do it.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
just,
calm down.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Stop saying that
just
I
to
should
stop
calm
it.
down and just answer the fucking question.
All right. So example I'll give. A house is. I can give you
A house is made out of prior existing
let me
material.
finish, Jack.
I asked you just
Jack,
name the object.
you're-
Name the
I'm
fucking
joking,
object.
I'm
All right.
yeah, I
What
don't
a
think
fucking
that's good.
asshole.
Yeah, that's enough of that. I gotta put my phone in charge too. What happened to the Christian guy too, who was waiting in the queue? He left. Damn. Hey, what's up?
What's up?
Okay, I know actually who you are. You don't think, at least as far as I know about you, you don't think there's compelling evidence for theism. Or am I wrong?
No. Am I allowed to talk about something else, or is that all this panel is?
Pretty much is really just.
Let's hear him out. Let's hear him out just for a minute. See if he has.
All right. I mean, yeah, I guess we have no one else in the queue. By the way, everyone here, can we get to like 20K likes? Y'all are not tapping the screen at all. We need interaction. I'm not getting no one in the queue because y'all. Also share the live if you can. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I've seen your stream on like, I scroll through my FYP like 4 times now, and it seems like this is like the 1960s NBA. It seems like you're just debating like plumbers and mechanics, and I'm really wondering why. Like, you guys get mad every time because these people are idiots, but you know they're idiots, and your like audience is idiots. So like, what's the point? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, there's not like another app with a population of people who talk about the topic.
We prefer better interlocutors. I guess that's.
Well, sometimes we win jackpots and get competent people, but of course you can imagine how unlikely that is. It's not like, I mean, I have good reason to think the next person that comes up is bad, but it's not like I'm like intentfully scooping for bad. Like Discord, probably like no conversations at all.
There might be other lives
here because of.
Yeah, there might be other lives that get better interlocutors, but Monkeyboy just gets.
Yeah, mine are exceptionally bad. There's like Danny who gets better people. I don't actually know a lot of atheist creators, to be honest, at least for the philosophy aspect. But mine, I don't know why I get exceptionally horrible people, but there's other creators who happen to have, I don't know, the competent theist algorithm.
And do you think it's like worth it? Like when this person starts talking about like a house being his example, how maybe like we should look for other people, or do you think like engaging with that is kind of?
Well, sometimes people that I talk with constantly come back up and they update. Now, do I think they're getting significantly better? Not really, but there are some people who are constantly coming back and actually they seem to have at least some humility and openness in analyzing certain issues we're putting forward, stuff like that. In any case, I'm getting enjoyment. When I'm not getting enjoyment, at least I hope to God to get some content. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. You ever tried treating them like idiots? Because I've noticed even when someone comes up, like they give like an obviously wrong argument, like it's obviously wrong, but then you start telling them it's not like valid or they're begging the question, and these people have no idea what that means.
Yeah, I would have to explain. I explain stuff like that, and I give them like examples where like, I sometimes give this typical example where I would say like, if I don't accept Superman exists, and you say the reason is because Superman saved me, right? And the only way Superman saves you is if he already exists, right? Superman can only save you in the actual world if he exists, and that's not like a legitimate reason. I kind of like walk them through stuff like that. I don't like define, or I try my best not to define like question beggingness or these like complicated philosophical devices in a way they wouldn't understand. But no, the frustration with me, I'm on a whole nother level. I'm trying really hard not to get frustrated. I'm not good at it. I'm not like these other people like Davey or Danny. I don't know if you've seen these other people, but they're able to like be calm and collect with these guests for so long. I like tweak the fuck out.
Well, Danny actually loses his temper.
He does, but he's still better at me than me. I mean, I guess I don't get as mad as him, but I'm like quicker to anger, and it usually never goes well once I'm like really frustrated. And another thing too is he can reset too. Me, when I'm frustrated, I move to the next guest. It happens to carry over, and I'm trying to like kind of sweep that type of vice away, vicious character.
Okay. What percent of people do you think after you talk to them, they've in any way, like in their heads, started thinking about things, maybe questioning positions? Do you think like the people you're talking to are kind of making that distinction in their head?
So in conversations, it seems like it's like probably like 15% of people. Now, for the amount of people like actually, I would see a lot of these people continuing to do the same bullshit, like they've never heard like competent responses from me or other people here. So that population of people who actually seem to like actually invest in the objection, to which like in the future, because they can act like they understand and then respond in some semi-adequate way, at least for the dialectic's sake, and then go the next day acting like they never heard that, right, running the same low tier stuff. So I would say it's like even maybe like 20% of the people are actually, or more, like 25% of the people I talk with actually like are able to converse and understand what I'm saying or attempt to understand. And I would say it's like 6 to 2% of the people who like go around retaining what's been on offer against what they're saying.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know. Like the people that you bring up, obviously most of them don't know philosophy. They just have feelings, and it's really hard to argue with that. So I don't know how you do it. I'm not sure how you talk with these people.
Yeah. A lot of these people, they don't go anywhere at all. Like some people just, when asked for reasons, they like it's another thing. It's like really annoying to like have to constantly like explain like epistemic and like pragmatic reasons in a way that's concise and understood by them. I don't even try doing that, but like it's like almost all the people I talk with now, they start like lore dumping and like talking about their psychology and like just like bullcrap that's not obviously like what anyone in the debate space is really interested in hearing. Like it's
right.
But yeah, I got another what the fuck was that? Sorry, I got other guests now.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Okay.
Your word up. I do gotta get my charger. And how's Dan Linford looking? We getting closer to getting to go up here, or what?
I don't think he's messaged me back yet.
Can you see if he views it or?
Yo, what's up?
All right. Venus said he has to go. So peace, Venus. Hey, what's up? You have good evidence that God exists, or?
So last time we had a conversation. I think you kicked me before I was even able to have the discussion, because I believe the last time I brought up the evidence was if I remember correctly, it was I don't know the exact I can't name the exact argument. I'm a little tired right now, but it had something to do with the fact that everything is perfect for life. I don't know. I don't know if you know the argument's name, but I brought that up not necessarily as a point, but I found it interesting when you asked the question, "What's the best evidence for God?" And I put that. I said I think that might probably be the best evidence, but I just really wanted to see what the deconstruction of that argument was. But like you just said earlier, you said you have conversations with people, and then you have this energy, and it draws over to other conversations. So before I even was able to actually get into the discussion with you about why the argument for I guess the good name would be divine creation, I wasn't able to respond. You just kicked me. But I genuinely just, when I posed the argument, I posed it as, in my mind, this would probably be the best evidence, but I'm not sure if I wasn't sure if it was, and I wanted to see what the holes in the argument were, right? I know a couple of holes are why is it that, in order for life to be the case, why do these measurements have to be the constraint for God? That's a good counter to the argument. Why is it that it has to be so specific? If God is all knowing, all powerful, and all everywhere, omniscient, he should be able to decide that life can... Sorry, go on. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. So, I mean, the latest thing you said, it seems so the initial question of what might be the name of the argument, seems like you're talking about intelligent design, but now it seems the last thing you said is bleeding two different arguments. Intelligent design. But, and also, funny enough, those two arguments are actually unfriendly with each other. But in any case, meaning if you believe in one of the arguments, you can't believe the other one's true, because there's a tension between the two arguments. They actually say the opposite things, and that the opposite things are kind of evidence for theism. But I don't remember the context in which I talked with you, and whether I carried anger from my last guest, or if I got angry with you, or whether I got angry with you at all. But if it were true that I was angry with you, wouldn't be that I wouldn't let you respond, or I kicked you before. It had to have been that I was kind of choppy and not willing to have any wiggle room, and I'll give you 3 attempts or less, and if you don't answer directly or something, that I'll drop you. But I'm not sure if that happened with you. It's he say, she say, whatever. It doesn't really matter. If I was like that, I apologize. But yeah, what I don't see with intelligent design arguments is I don't even see why I would think that intelligent design is more likely, given any of the background information we have about the world. I don't really see how we get to there even being design. In fact, it doesn't even seem like if there's a designer, we would expect any facts about the way the world is. And if you wanted to kind of make your hypothesis generate expectations or capture certain expectations, right? It seems like you would have to build in certain constraints on the explanation, and that those constraints would just make the explanation significantly more unlikely. And then it seems like there's even a greater problem of whether you're overcompensating what's called the probability of the prior probability, but we could just say overcoming the net issue of the probability of the hypothesis with those updates. Not updates, but constraints.
Yeah. So that's one argument against when I said when I posed the idea of intelligent design, the fact that these are
I also want you to understand. I don't mean to interrupt, but do you understand maybe why I'm saying that when you add constraints or specificity to an explanation, that how that makes it less likely? Or do you want me to explain that?
Yeah, well, let me try to see if I understand what you're saying, just in case you do need to explain it. So you're essentially saying when you're saying we're adding constraints, essentially we're interpreting the data in a way that seems to be intelligent design. We're adding to the data. We're saying that this data is evidence for intelligent design, when in all reality, it's most likely just the case that the probability is shown in most cases that this is just the natural order of things, not necessarily intelligent design. I don't know if that's a good interpretation.
No, I'm just commenting on how to get the evidence would require you to add certain constraints on the explanation, the theistic explanation, and how those constraints makes the explanation less likely.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So sorry. So just before we continue this conversation, I just want to let you know, currently I'm trying to understand the different arguments for and against theism, right? So I'm not necessarily trying to like dunk on anyone. I genuinely, when I join these lives, I want to understand what the opposing side is. So if it comes off to me like interpreting it in a certain way, if you would be willing to correct me, that would be awesome. I'm trying to read more into it.
Yeah,
but
that's fun.
yeah. So when you say, if you can repeat what you're saying, can you explain it to me in sort of a more like in more layman's term?
Yeah, just take any proposition. We can assign like a probability of that proposition. And now imagine we have specificity, which I'm using interchangeably with constraints. When you add specificity or constraints on the proposition, that would just make it less likely. So like imagine add a bag of jelly beans. There's like a probability I pull like a jelly bean from the bag, right? Probably significantly high, right? Assuming I like somehow don't miss like and grab air or nothing, right? So it's likely I grab a jelly bean. Now, when I add specificity, like what's the probability I pull a red jelly bean? That would likely decrease the probability, right? That what's the probability I just pull a jelly bean simpliciter or specifically a red one? Now imagine add more specificity, like it's red and it's 2 inches long, it's red and it, is shiny, it's red and it's pink in the inside. When I keep adding those specificity, it's less likely at each level that I just pull a jelly bean simpliciter than I do with those layers of specificity. And that those layers of specificity just, in a way, they just keep plummeting the probability. Do we understand that? Or?
Yeah. So just to like tie it to like the divine, the principle that we're talking about here. So if somebody were to argue from a theist and say that it's intelligent design, you're essentially saying that the probability of like life or intelligent design, what would be the proposition in this case? Would it be intelligent design or?
Yeah, what I'm saying is something like I'm saying that intelligent design, proponents of intelligent design, the type of reasoning they're running is something like life in the universe is really hostile, almost inhospitable for life, or mathematically so improbable, or whatever, that it's like a miracle that life obtained, and that the hypothesis that there's an intelligent designer who put life where it is, even though most of the cosmos are hostile, right? But there's this one patch of life permitting, that's expected on theism. And what I'm saying is that that's not actually expected on theism. You'd have to add specificity so the theistic explanation captures that expectation, and that the specificity will work against the hypothesis, right? Because it will make it less likely. Thanks for the heart forever.
Oh, okay, I see. I understand now. So if a theist says, because we're able to exist in this hostile environment, then it must be God. But that doesn't necessarily demonstrate the fact that, like how we exist. In order to demonstrate that, the proposition would start from God, but then as we add more and more, and it's all like, we exist because, let's say we have a sun that gives us energy, and then that our magnetic sphere protects us from the sun's. Like we keep going down and down. We're adding more specificity on why we exist. It like starts to take away from the theistic view of intelligent design.
Yeah, it's something like I think it's unlikely there's a God altogether. So the person reasons to God by saying that there's like a patch of life that's unlikely and it's likely on theism. But when we kind of introspect on the explanation or the hypothesis, right? Let's say bare theism, so just the bare bones hypothesis there's a God. Well, all that's saying is that there's like a mind that created the universe, right? And if that's true, we don't actually have reason to think any physical facts, any specific or particular physical facts would obtain or arise, right? It's perfectly compatible with a mind creating a universe, that there's a universe with only cheese, there's an entirely chaotic world, there's worlds with like badass only black women who are hot as hell, whatever. So what you don't actually expect is any given world or any facts of a given world, just under the hypothesis there's a God. You'd want to add stuff, so you would then expect that the type of world we would inhabit is a world akin to the world we do inhabit. But when you add that specificity, that's making theism less likely. That's not talking about generic theism, which I already find unlikely, and that's kind of just accommodating. That's another thing to get into, but basically it's just getting evidence for a less likely hypothesis than I already accepted.
I see. Yeah. So you're separating like the additions to the ultimate source. Like if the ultimate mind were to create a universe, what arrives from that universe, whether it's determined or not, is more like, it's in order to add stuff, it's adding more complexity, and it's necessarily separating itself from like the ultimate source, I guess. So it's
it's a separate like you're adding more complexity. It's separate from the original theist of like intelligent design is essentially what you're saying.
Yeah, just there being like the bare bones of God doesn't predict there to be these facts.
I understand.
To expect these facts, right, would require specificity, and the specificity makes it less likely. And then there's the issue of whether that specificity, the evidence, is overcoming. It seems like at best it's just compensating its debt, right? There's like a debt accrued by the specificity, and you're getting evidence that is only had from that specificity. But it doesn't seem like it's making theism, the net probability of theism, any more likely.
Yeah, so essentially, okay, I understand. So essentially me just saying intelligent or the universe seems like it's intelligently designed, therefore God is essentially just like these are two separate things, right? Like the complexity of the universe design doesn't necessarily entail like a foundational creator or a God. Like you explained, if we had like let's give the bare bones theistic view. If we just had a mind that created the universe, the complexity of that universe, the mechanics and components of the complexity are separate from the mind's creation. Even though it's under the mind, it's still separate. Like I guess they can't. They're not connected. They're separate in a way.
I think
like it's just
you generally got the idea. Yeah. I didn't understand a lot of the other stuff towards the end, but yeah.
Yeah, essentially necessarily saying that the universe is complex, therefore God exists. These two essentially are two separate things. Like the universe being complex doesn't necessarily point to an all-powerful, all-knowing, omniscient, and everywhere being. That doesn't point to that. The complexity of the universe is just that. It's just a complex universe. God doesn't have to necessarily exist in order for complexity to exist in the universe, or like what we would interpret as intelligent design. Because let's be honest, a lot of our interpretation, it's just interpretation, right? We see things that just seem to add up nicely. The Goldilocks zone, life on Earth, the sun being, the right temperature. We interpret these things as components of intelligent design, when in all reality, the probability is like, it's just the way it ended up, right? So I understand what you're saying in that sense.
Thanks for the harsh on too. Yeah.
But
I don't know what Jack's intuition is on Dan, but my phone is really low. And I mean, the live's not going to do good with my face out of it. Like, these people are like really attracted to my face, so I don't want to put my phone down and wait for like mediocre people. So if you think it's likely Dan will come on, I'll just end the live.
It's going to come on in the next few minutes.
No, I'm saying I can come back in like an hour or an hour and a half.
Oh yeah, he might be free later. I can message you if he says he's free later. I'll message you.
Yeah, because I'm pretty much like bored with the live.
Sorry,
it's been going on for a bit, but
okay.
You think that's the best option? Just come back later. Yeah,
maybe he'll be around later. I mean, he usually is more free in the evening. But
you said he's not free on weekends, right?
I'm not. He didn't used to be generally that free on the weekends, but it might be different now. So I don't know.
Okay.
I had a question. I just wanted to see your view on this. So we all know like the problem of evil, POE, the problem of evil is probably one of the most prevalent arguments for like an all good God, right? Necessarily, God allows natural evil. Why would he allow natural evil? He's all knowing. That means he's knowingly allowing.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the argument.
So would you say, okay, from that argument, if God is all knowing and he allows a natural evil, disease, hurricanes, whatever, would you say that in that case he would be all evil, or would you say that he's majority evil if he allows these things?
Well, I usually
think about it. I mean, like, isn't the point about allowing things to happen something you do because it would somehow be worse if you intervene?
Yeah, so essentially you're saying that if he had the capacity to intervene, the fact that he doesn't makes it worse, right? Like, it makes it even more evil, correct?
Well, I just sort of, I mean, the way I think of it is that what it means to be a good person is that when something bad is going to happen or is happening, you don't stand there with your arms folded, right? Unless there's some greater harm that would be incurred by intervening. Right?
Yeah. So would you say in that case, like with this viewpoint at least, would you say in some aspect, God is kind of sort of evil?
Well, I think if you think evil exists, then God couldn't be simultaneously perfectly good and all powerful. Okay. He'd have to be limited in his power, or alternatively, not be perfectly good.
Okay, let's assume for the sake that he isn't limited. Let's say he is powerful, all powerful, all knowing, maybe not all good. Let's say he is all bad. When I think about this argument, I come upon an interesting reversal of it. With knowing that he is all powerful and all knowing, but not all good, then that would mean that he's an evil god. But if that's the case, if we flip
well,
that,
he could be an indifferent. He might not be an evil god. He could just be like an indifferent god.
Okay, I guess. That's interesting. Would you consider if he's indifferent? Would you consider him allowing like thousands of people to die to disease? Would you consider that an evil thing?
I guess on my moral compass, probably yes.
Yeah, I would agree too. I would say, like, if there's a God that is indifferent to the suffering of millions of human beings, whether that be natural or moral, I would say that's pretty evil. But the thing the interesting fact is if you reverse it, right? If you reverse that and we think about it like, if God is all evil, then why does good exist? Like, why is good? Like, why does life flourish? Why do people feel happiness? Why do people feel love?
Yeah, but I'm not sure that there's going to be an interesting explanation for that.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just curious. Like, if we see God as evil, and that's the case that He's all knowing and all powerful, and yet He still allows thousands of people to suffer, and looking, even if He's indifferent, if we feel that He's evil, why is it the case that they're still all good? That, like, why is the case that if He's all evil, why isn't it, I guess, why is it the case that good things still exist? Natural good and moral good, I guess.
Well, but I mean, I don't think that I have an interesting answer to give to that question. But I don't think theists do either, because if they say, well, a good God exists and He brought those things into being, you're just going to be stuck with the same problem, which is, why is it the case that a good God exists? Right?
I agree with you. I think the issue is that, well, I haven't really thought too far, but my thoughts on this would be that I think like good and evil, the ideas of good and evil themselves it's an internal human concept, in the sense that like it's specifically human. I think like for me specifically, I'm agnostic. I think when it comes to God, I think there are things that are ultimately unknowable for God. So I guess I would have to say that I feel like morality isn't not necessarily, I believe to an extent, I think an objective morality exists. I probably might get owned on that point because I don't know how to demonstrate that it does. I guess I would be a rationalist in that sense. I believe that objective morality exists, but I think as an agnostic, we aren't able to reach that objective morality. I think that we have a morality that's based in as humans, we have our own morality, and it's far from objective morality. It's not necessarily. It's a human subjective morality. So we would say that this is good and this is bad, but God Himself, if He's an objective ultimate being, I don't think we'd be able to understand, right, the morality of why things are good or bad. We just interpret them in our human way, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Like, I don't see why. Well, I'm not sure if this is even what you're saying, but I don't see why on atheism, if there could be such a thing as objective morality, I'm not sure why you'd need theism to have that or anything like that. I'm not sure that that's what you're saying, but if that's what you're saying, I don't really see it.
Yeah, no, I think it's what you said earlier was interesting about an indifferent God, because the thing is that if He is indifferent, like, even if we see it as immoral, like, even if, like, I agree with you, I would see thousands of people dying from disease as an immoral thing, but like, we could say that's evil, but necessarily if God is indifferent, then it doesn't really matter if we say that that's evil. That's our human interpretation. Like, that's our human perception interpreting that as evil. But if God's indifferent, it doesn't necessarily, I guess would say, like, matter. So it wouldn't even matter if, like, the problem of good being flipped to the problem of evil wouldn't even matter at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a problem of good for the evil God that exists.
Yeah.
But what you're calling the problem of good sounds more like why is there good at all, right? And I'm just saying, if that's the mystery that we're concerned with, it doesn't seem like theism really does anything to solve it.
Yeah, no, I think...
like, why is God allowing the evil right now that the cops are attending to in Gotham? In Jack's background?
Yeah, true. Sorry. Yeah, no, I was speaking with Jack about, but I mean, I'm following the idea. I'm posing it as an idea under the fact that God is all knowing and God is all powerful, and yet He decides not to intervene in natural evil. But I'm saying that makes him like foundationally evil in a way. And if that's the case, if God is evil, all evil, right? He's all knowing and all powerful. Why does He allow?
Yeah, but you don't have to think. Look, if you thought that God existed, you might think that the problem of evil would show that He couldn't be perfectly good, right?
Yeah.
But then you wouldn't have to conclude that He was an evil God. You could conclude that He was like a mostly good God and a partly bad God, or you could conclude that He was an indifferent God, right? Or that He was a mostly bad God but a partly good God. You could conclude all those things. You could also just conclude that God is not all powerful and so forth.
Yeah. That would be. Yeah, no, I understand. That would be an option under the conclusion. Under that idea, like I said, you're proposing the idea that He's indifferent, but I'm saying that but we as humans perceive His indifference as evil, and then me saying that, and then trying to I guess springboard to the problem of good wouldn't matter, because if He's indifferent, He's not necessarily, I guess you would say, making the conscious effort to create evil. So if that's the case, He's not necessarily making a conscious effort to create good because He's indifferent. So it just, the whole flip in the argument or the reflection of the argument wouldn't make sense at all.
Well, I mean, another thing is that good could arise by accident, right? If God existed.
Yeah.
Could be that He doesn't intend. I mean, obviously, if He's all powerful and all knowing, nothing's going to be an accident. Well, I guess even then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There could be random events, but yeah, I mean, it could be that the good arises for reasons independent of kind of like God's will and God's power.
So you would categorize a section.
Also, I'm gonna go soon. At least we can try and wrap this up in like 3 or even 2 minutes if we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
If anything, Jack will message me, I'll go back. But
yeah, no problem. It was nice chatting with you guys. My phone's about to die. I just like going on to these debates and having these discussions. Not debates, but these panels. I like having discussions. But yeah, I guess I'll see you guys later. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, word, no problem.